Jai Gurudev. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudiraye.
हरिओम.
Yes, go ahead.
हरिओम ब्रह्मराजी, ये जो last sentence Nana ji said, no, Ajnanam is Anantam. That was not clear to me. Ajnanam Anantam hai, तो Jnanam भी Anantam hai, right?
Yeah, Jnanam is Anantam.
Ajnana agar Anant hai, तो there is no end to that Ajnana or what?
No, he said it has a beginning, but it has an end. It is not Anantam.
He said Anadi. Anadi.
Okay,
is
okay.
there. Both
Anadi hai.
are Anadi. Yeah.
Oh, clear. Dhanyavad.
Today, all the verses were so very beautiful, just reveling in the all-pervasive nature of the Atma. That
yes, Bhagwan is giving such logical explanation with so much of clarity. Very, very well said. Very beautiful.
So I had this thing about free will, and free will is different from Purushartha. I thought free will was the same as Purushartha, but then, like Nana pointed out, a person having a free will is also not, not accepting God. That is also free will. Like all these atheists, they are exercising the faculty of free will. So that does not necessarily mean Purushartha. So free will is apart from Purushartha. Purushartha includes the Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And it is also a part of the Prakriti, the overall Prakriti, overall Maya Janitam. In fact, I think Atma is that spotless, all-pervasive thing, which is just a witness to all of this, all these changing entities, modifications of Maya. Prakrityaiva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tadhatmanam akartaram cha pashyati. So, and he who sees that by Prakriti alone actions are being performed in all ways, and so too, he who sees the self as a non-doer, he alone sees.
Brahmaraji, could you please show the Pratipadartha for 32nd shloka, I think 32, no?
29th shloka. We'll go finish the 30, 31 and then go to 32, Bela.
Yeah. Okay.
Yada bhuta pridhak bhava ekamastam anupashyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada. So yada bhuta prithak bhavam, the condition of distinction in the beings, prithak bhavam, ekastam, as having its existence in one atma, anupashyati, one sees clearly, tada then, tatah evacha, and from that alone, vistaram, its projection, brahma sampadyate, he gains Brahman. When one sees clearly the condition of distinction in the beings as having its existence in one Atma, and from that alone is its projection, then he gains Brahman. This is in kind of in line with your question of your Chetana increasing and awareness. When Nana explained that a person whose Chetana is there, but it has some doubts, whereas a person whose Chetana is developed in such a manner that he has that clarity. So when he sees that clearly, then he gains Brahman, or he realizes. Anaditvat nirgunatvat paramatmaya mavyayah sharirastopi kaunteya nakaroti nalipyate. O Kaunteya, I am this avyayaha, imperishable, paramatma, limitless self, anaditvat, being beginningless, nirgunatvat, being without attributes, sharirasthaha api, even though obtaining in the body, na karoti, he does not do, na lipyate, he is not affected. O Kaunteya, being beginningless and without attributes, this limitless self is imperishable. Even though obtaining in the body, it does not perform action and is not affected by results of action. It is so beautiful. You know, we all have, of course, have this concept as a parokshanubhuti. We know it as a concept, but having that aparokshanubhuti, being experiencing that actual true nature of Atma must be such a wonderful state, no?
Yeah, exactly. Being one with that.
Yeah, being one with that. Talking of that itself gives you so much of joy.
Yeah,
And
bliss.
so much of bliss. So, like I think in the Taittiriya Upanishad it is mentioned, the gradations, the magnitude of Ananda is given. Manusha Ananda, then Deva Ananda, and Brahmananda. So it is several thousand times the Manusha Ananda is the bliss that you get when you actually are in that state. So we've come to 32. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate sarvatravat stito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. Yatha, just as, sarvagatam, all pervasive, akasham, space, saukshmyat, being subtle, na upalipyate, is not affected, tatha atma, so too the self, sarvatra, in all states, avastitaha, abiding, dehe, in the body, na upalipyate, is not affected. Just as all pervasive space, because it is subtle, is not affected, so too the self abiding in all states in the body is not affected. You
Sorry,
wanted this?
screen nahi dikh. We can't see the screen.
Oh, you're not seeing. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I've been reading. I thought I shared the screen. I'm sorry about that. Screen not seen. Yeah, I just read your chat. Okay. So this is what you wanted, right? So should I read it once again?
No, it's okay. You can go ahead as per our sequence, Brahmaraji. We were in 30th verse, right?
No, we are in the 32nd. This is what you wanted, no? You wanted the
Yeah. Okay.
Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate. Today, I don't know, the laptop is like it's getting lag. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate sarvatravastito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. So just as sarvagatam, all pervasive, akasham, space, saukshmyat, being subtle, na upalipyate, is not affected, tatha, atma, so too the self, sarvatra, in all states, avastitaha, abiding, tehe, in the body, na upalipyate, is not affected. So just as all pervasive space, because it is subtle, is not affected, so too the self abiding in all states in the body is not affected. You know, it is like the self is there in all the three states, all the four states basically. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti and Turyavastha. I'm just reminded of Swami Surya China's example of deep sleep. He would always go back to the deep sleep state. In that state, whether you are a prince or a pauper, whether you are sleeping in a hut or in a palace, the experience you get is the same. So that is one thing. And the second is that is unaffected by the pains and sorrows and joys that you get in your waking state. Neither is it affected by the dreams that you go through in your deep state. You know, the Upanishad Vakya, not that, I think it was from Atma Bodh, Amanaspat na dukkham. Nana has been mentioning this, and that one phrase is so beautiful. I'm not getting the actual thing. It is Amanasya na sukham. It is like you are not, Atma is not the mind. So where is the dukkha for the Atma? Similarly, like the sun, which is covered by the clouds and is not affected by the clouds. Similarly is the Atma, in spite of it being there in all the states, it is not affected by it. Yatha prakashayatyekah kritstam lokamimam ravihi kshetram kshetri tatha kritstam prakashayati bharata. So Bharata, O Arjuna, yatha, just as, ekah ravihi, one sun, imam kritsnam lokam, this entire world, prakashayati, illumines, tatha, so too, kshetri, the one who obtains in the kshetra, kritsnam, kshetram, the entire kshetra, prakashayati, illumines. I just wonder, is my audio clear or is it shaky?
Yeah, it's shaking little bit, Brahmaraji.
Shaking, no? So do any one of you wants to continue? Because I think either my internet is shaky today. So if anyone else wants to take over, please do, because it will otherwise affect the quality.
Yeah, I can read. Shall I read? This
Yeah, go ahead.
Brahmaraji, this Kshetri is Jivatma?
The Kshetri here, I think, is the Atma. Yeah. Jivatma, correct. Not the Jiva, but the Jivatma.
Jivatma, okay. So I should read the Pratipadartha again, or we will go to next one?
You can go to.
Excuse me. What is the difference between Jiva and Jivatma?
From my understanding, I think it is the Atma which is there in the individual Jiva. That is the Jivatma, which is the same in every other Atma. Whereas Jiva is the one, is the Kshetram, who is covered by, it is the, the Jiva is the one, that is the Jivatma, which is covered by ignorance, is the Jiva. That is my understanding. Anybody else could share?
Yeah, it is true. When it is ignorant, it is, that's what it was said in the yesterday's, I think, one of the verses, no? When it is covered with ignorance, it is Jiva. And when it is, that ignorance is removed, it is Atma.
That is why they say Jivan Mukti, no? Jivan Mukti, Mukta is who? Is a person who has realized his true nature. There's a Jiva without that ignorance. That ignorance has been removed and he merges with the true self, the Jivatma.
I think that is why Bharata was, even though he was in the body of deer, he was able to realize.
Jada Bharata, you're talking about, no? Yeah. So you want to continue? Bela, you can read.
Yeah. Bharata, O Arjuna, yatha, just as ekah ravihi, one sun, imam kritsam lokam. This entire world, prakashayati, illumines. Tatha, so too, kshetri, the one who obtains in the kshetra. Krutsnam, kshetram, the entire kshetra. Prakashayati, illumines. O Arjuna, just as one sun illumines this entire world, so too the kshetri, Atma, one who obtains in the kshetra, illumines the entire kshetra. Kshetra kshetrajnayo revam anantaram jnana chakshusha. Kshetra kshetrajnayo revam antaram jnana chakshusha. Bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. Ye, those who, evam, in this manner, kshetra kshetragnayoho, between the kshetra and the kshetragna, antaram, the distinction, cha, and bhuta prakriti moksham, freedom from prakriti, the cause of all beings, jnana chakshusha, through the eye of wisdom. Viduhu, no, te param, ultimate and yanti, they go. Those who in this manner know the distinction between the kshetra and the kshetragna through the eye of wisdom and know the freedom from prakriti, the cause of the beings, they go to the ultimate end.
Nice. So we complete chapter 13, and tomorrow we'll go on to chapter 14, which is Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Another beautiful yoga. So tomorrow Nana said we will do Gita Dhyanam first and then do the chapter 1. So maybe we can all keep our Bhagavad Gita texts or your PDFs there. You can actually with a pencil or so, maybe do that, where you have to break the first line, where you have to break the sentence, the shloka. That will be useful for those of us who require that.
Yes, Brahmaraji, one request, is it possible that some of us, we chant and then Nanaji correct? Or Nanaji will be more comfortable, he chanting and we just noting down? Whichever way, I mean.
Yeah, we can ask Nana. That is also fine. Maybe a few shlokas we can chant. And I don't know. We will check with him tomorrow.
Okay. I believe in the Gita, it's Bhagavad Gita text itself, I would like to correct so that
correct. That is why
it
I'm
remains.
saying it is better. Yeah, it is better that you do it in your hard copy so that next time, whenever you're chanting, that there is that clarity there.
Yes.
I'm wanting to explain down this one. If anybody wants to share anything, please continue. Otherwise, because it's taking me a little time today to open up my chapter 12.
This is just out of the topic. I just wanted to understand Hiranya Garbha. If anyone knows little bit more about today, because Nanaji had given that example, no, that when we are in mother's womb, before coming out, we give all promises that we will just bring me out of this shackles of, I mean, 9 months I have stayed in this small compartment and I want to come out. I will abide by all the Prakriti law and everything. We give all promises. So Hiranya Garbha is what? Is it like the whole Prakriti's womb? Is it so? We all Jivatma, and we also feel being in this kshetra, we also feel, no, that we want to be free, that craving is there, that
Yeah. I don't think I have a complete idea about what actually Hiranyagarbha is, but I think it is one of the concepts, like how concepts of creation it comes. Hiranyagarbha is one of the ways in which creation is explained. Hiranyagarbha is, I think, the sum total of the whole mass from where creation has happened. That is my vague understanding, but I might be wrong, subject to correction. So if anybody else knows it, please go ahead.
or maybe as Nanaji today said, no, it will be coming in the coming chapters, no? The whole creation will be revealed as we will be proceeding further.
Belaji, can you repeat what Brahmaraji said? Because Brahmaraji is just murmuring, we can hear. And your voice is very, very clear. That Hiranyagarbha thing.
Yeah, Brahmaraji said that Hiranyagarbha is the sum total of all the energy from which the creation happens. That's what I heard. Am I right, Brahmaraji?
Yeah. That is somewhere
sum-
where I think in the Atma Bodh, when we were reading the commentary, in that, I think there are three ways in which the creation is being explained. Three concepts of creation. One is through this Hiranyagarbha, and then the other one is I'm not getting the term. It is yeah, one of those is Hiranyagarbha. I'm not remembering the other two.
Jai
I
Gurudev.
think we need to contemplate on this Hiranyagarbha, and some explanations, more detail will be welcome.
I have one question, like when Ishvara wants us to be in his bhakti and to be one with him, then after and when the soul is in the womb, then why, like after taking birth, why the Maya of Ishvara envelops the Atma and again leads into on the same path of ignorance and suffering, and or is it because of like
They say that the Jnana Nadi, which is responsible for this understanding in the womb, that, oh my God, that time it promises when the Jnana Nadi is open. And while exactly taking the birth, the Jnana Nadi gets closed. And immediately the Jiva gets lost. And whatever it can remember and anything that is the previous impressions and all the mayaka, all the dimensions come up slowly. And again, to open up that nadi, we have to go through all that which we are going now, that whole path. That's what I have heard. I don't know.
but it's the part, it's the part of the prakriti which Ishvara has made this prakriti like this. So why is the prakriti made like this, that you are in a whirlpool, you keep on whirling round and round, and like I feel this.
Such wise will not take us forward on this path. Nanaji has clearly said, no, don't deviate from your
We
focus.
should just wonder, because it is like, if I remember, I had asked him how was the first ignorance born some time back. We talk of ignorance having no beginning, no? So it doesn't have a beginning. So even the question that you're asking, Savita ji, is a question I think we just have to wonder. Rather than we are here, like what Swamiji very clearly said, if I remember, he says, here we are not trying to understand ignorance. We are trying to gain knowledge so that the ignorance can be shattered. So why did that ignorance envelop us as babies being born? Why did that Jnana Nadi that Madhuriji is talking of, why is that closed? Instead of that, I think our focus and attention and attempt should be on uncovering that envelopment, the veil of ignorance. And that is why we are all here. Because then there was no end. We'll continue to question, why did this creation happen? Why did we have this birth? Why? So then I don't know whether that will be the right direction of inquiry. Maybe
Yeah,
something
thank you.
we just have to wonder.
Yeah,
It is
it's only sometimes you feel this inquisitiveness in you, like it
correct.
erupts sometimes.
I agree. Even I had that. No, that is why I asked the question, when was the first ignorance born? Because for me, I couldn't understand when a person is born, he's born with some prarabdha. So my question was, when did the first prarabdha begin? If you have to start somewhere, no? So for that, I think like how Maya itself is a big wonder. You can only wonder about Maya.
No, and it starts before that, Brahmra. Why, in the first place, he wanted to multiply himself? What was I mean, Brahman has a desire that itself is you cannot, even think of. Why
You
would
cannot fathom, right?
fathom? Yeah, because it's all peace and then love, everything. It has to be full, right? Brahman is all everything. And then why it wanted to multiply itself? Some say it wanted to play some game, and somehow you cannot digest that part.
Correct. So when such is the case, rather than spending all this is what I understood from what Nana was trying to explain to us, not to dwell on some of these questions which may not be very may not lead us to where we have to be. So these questions, maybe we should just wonder at them. Like even Gurudev says, no, from an ugly I don't know to a beautiful I don't know. So we are going to that state of that beautiful I don't know.
It's really wonderment. Wow, only is the word. Really. So amazing. But just one thing, like when we say that Kshetrajna is Prakriti Maya Pati, he is Maya is in power of him. So Atma, when when Atma becomes one with that, I think then he will be able to that Atma will be having this Prakriti in his control. Maybe that's what is that's why Gurudev sometimes, for the rain and for the weather and for everything, they are able to control.
Correct. Very right.
Jai Gurudev, I vaguely remember about the birth and this forgetting about the promises made in the womb. The birth process is so painful. In that pain, that everything he promised when he was in the womb, he forgets. That's what I remember. I vaguely remember during this session. Only discussion was there. Jai Gurudev.
Shankaraji also mentioned in his Bhashya, no? Punarapi Janamam Jathare Janani Jathare Shayanam. Again, not to come.
In fact,
Shall
another
I?
question. Yeah, you can read, Vela. In fact, when Nana was talking about this, the what goes on in the mind of the fetus in the womb, I had this question coming up. How did they know? What is how does one know what is going on in a fetal mind? But that again, maybe we just have to wonder. Probably that's what they go through while in the womb.
Abhimanyu was able to give, the response, even when he was in womb. And there are many evidences, I think, in scriptures that during those 9 months, the fetus is able to respond to your whatever readings or talking or conversations. So definitely they will be, वो चेतना तो है ना.
No, that is there. That is there. No, that is there. That of course is there. Like how Prahlada also learned the Om Namo
Yes.
Bhagavate Vasudeva. That is there. That the fetus responds and is able to imbibe from the environment is there. But that the fetus goes through this realization, I want to get out of the shackles. I will only think about you. I will not think about anything else. Let me out. That aspect, I was wondering, how did the seers or how did the rishis know about that?
See, once you transcend your this existence of body and mind, then everything is accessible, no? How Gurudev exactly the same time he knows what's there in our mind, what are the thoughts. You can means all of us, we must have one or the other time we have experienced. Simultaneously, exactly he knows what's going on in our mind. He reads it. So once you transcend this body and mind and earthly this thing, then it is how the air we are breathing in Bahrain or in India or everywhere it is same. So the mind is. So all the thoughts at the Manomaya Kosha, these enlightened people can access.
Correct.
So the whatever is in the womb, the little bit enlightened or evolved soul is going through. It can the enlightened people can access them, no, whatever is experience of that
Correct.
of the womb.
Of course. Yeah. Nice explanation, Madhuriji. Very good. Yeah. So, Bela, will you read?
Yeah. Yeah.
Extend, enlarge the font.
I will start from verse 11, right?
I think we started from verse 11 yesterday, no?
Yes.
We did a little bit. I read, I think, 1 or 2 paras, but we'll restart from here.
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मध्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्. अथ, then, madhyogamash being one whose practice commitment is dedicating all actions to me. Etat api, even this, kartum, to do, ashaktah asi chet. If you are not able, kshamyatam, tatah, then, yatatmavan, being one whose mind is disciplined. Sarva karma phalatyagam kuru. Give up the results of all actions to me. Then, even if you are not able to do this, being one whose practice commitment is dedicating all actions to me, then being one whose mind is disciplined, give up the results of all actions to me. Sarva karma phalatyaga. Bhagwan says, even if you cannot be committed to offering all actions to me, I cannot see Marathi. Just a minute.
I think my Sorry, this I've just come to.
I'm trying to open in my mobile. Just give me 2 minutes, Brahmaraji.
Yeah, I've opened it. I just have to go back to verse number 11.
Yeah, but it is not on the.
I'm just coming there. 1 second. So we read this, I think, yesterday, where we talked of if you're not able to give up your raga dvesha completely, and you let me share the screen one more time. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah, it's coming, but it is still circling. It has come. It has come.
This come?
Yeah.
Here and let me see. This is Ashtanga Yoga. We finished.
Yeah. And Bhagwan said, even if that you cannot do, then do, and then karma phala.
Oh, this is going to chapter Shloka 13. This is one pratibandhaka today in our Manana. The slow computer.
That will also have some purpose. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's giving us that patience. A little bit of tapas is required. Okay, can you see this now?
Yes.
Yeah, you can read this.
Sarva karma phala tyaga. Bhagwan says, even if you cannot be committed to offering all actions to me, atha etad api ashaktosi kartum madhyogam asritah atha etad api asaktosi kartum madhyogam asritah. There is still no problem if you have a disciplined mind, that is, if you are a yatatmavan. If your mind is undisciplined and turbulent, this does not apply. You have to clear that up first. But if you have some mastery over yourself, yet cannot give up all karmas to Ishvara, he says, then give up the results of all action. Sarva karma phala tyagam tatah kuru. Impelled by your likes and dislikes, go about doing your karma. Even if they are self-centered, fulfill them as long as they do not transgress dharma. But when the results come, renounce them all in the sense of graciously accepting them as prasada from Ishvara.
So here, doing this with a disciplined mind is what is important. So sarva karma phala tyaga, it is not for a person like a terrorist or someone who's doing on the wrong side of dharma. He says, okay, I will do, and I'm going to give up all the results of my action. That is not this. There's a precondition here. It has to be a disciplined mind, and you're doing something which is not transgressing dharma. Then you do sarva karma phalatya. Otherwise, there is every possibility of misusing this knowledge. Yeah, go ahead.
Krishna is not talking about renunciation of all karma here. That is jnana sannyasa, which as we saw in the 4th chapter, is possible only by the knowledge that Atma is a karta. With that knowledge, one does not give up activity, but while performing action, he knows he is free from all action. Then there are the karma yogis who perform all karma, offering it to Ishvara, and also take the karma phala as given by Ishvara. At both levels, Ishvara is involved. This is true karma yoga. If the first part is not possible, you can do the second part. Sarva karma phalatyagam kuru. Renounce all results of action. How does one renounce all the results of action? Whatever result comes, you take it as given by Ishvara. You become the karta and Bhagwan the karma phala data, the one who gives the results of action. There are two functions of Ishvara. One is Karmadhyaksha, the Lord who presides over the laws of karma, without whom no karma is possible. With that appreciation, you will have very mild raga dvesha. If they are predominant so that it is not possible to offer all karmas to Ishvara, when the karma phala comes to you, take it as something from Ishvara. That means you have offered the karma phala to him. This is very common in India. While cooking the food, they may not think of Ishvara. Certainly, when they flavor the food, they are not thinking of Ishvara's taste, but of the people who are going to eat. While cooking the food, they may not think of Ishvara. Certainly, when they flavor the food, they are not thinking of Ishvara's taste, but of the people who are going to eat. After cooking it, however, they offer the food to Ishvara. The way in which the food turns out is determined by the laws of
Can you see this?
no, my dear.
You're not able to. I can see.
Yeah. And I think this we read yesterday, Brahmaraji.
Yeah, we read it yesterday. But here, when we cook, when you're cooking, one aspect is, of course, you're cooking according to the taste of the people eating. But what if you're cooking as if you're cooking for Bhagwan, as if you're seeing, you're cooking for your children, your family, your husband. You're doing it as if you're doing it for Bhagwan. But of course, you'll add the taste according to what people eat. But that attitude is there for you. Will that be that matkarma paramo bhava? That is you're doing it for Bhagwan, for Ishvara.
I think yes.
Yeah, so much of liberty is given that while cooking, if you don't remember him, that you are not making for him. But at the end, when you are offering him and when you are eating as prashada.
Right. Bella, you still not able to see?
No, my dear.
Are you able to hear my voice clearly?
Yes.
So should I read then a little bit? Another 6
Yeah.
minutes, please. Because it says I'm sharing this, but I can't see by not able to see. So while cooking the food, they may not think of Ishvara. Certainly when they flavor the food, they are not thinking of Ishvara's taste, but of the people who are going to eat. After cooking it, however, they offer the food to Ishvara. The way in which the food turns out is determined by the laws of Ishvara. These ingredients put together in this way produces a given result. Therefore, you cannot say the laws have changed, so my food is not good. There can be a dosha, a mistake in your karma because of some difficulty, but the laws do not commit any mistake. Therefore, the karma phala, the food that comes to you after cooking, is from Ishvara. This much awareness is not very difficult to acquire. So, sarva karma phala tyaga is relatively easy. In sarva karma phala tyaga, there is an awareness of Ishvara as the karma phala data. I perform the action to fulfill raga dvesha, but the karma phala comes according to the laws of Ishvara. Therefore, I accept it without protest, and thereby it gets dedicated to Ishvara. The action also gets dedicated to Ishvara indirectly, because unless karma is dedicated to Ishvara, karma phala is not seen as something that comes from him. By accepting karma phala from Ishvara, you automatically dedicated your karma to him. This is what we said, no? When you're cooking, if you're taking whatever the result of your cooking is as karma phala from Ishvara, it automatically means that you're dedicating your action itself to him. So when you take it as karma phala coming from Ishvara, it neutralizes your raga dvesha. How? Normally, if the result is desirable, there is elation. If it is undesirable, depression. This is the nature of the antakarana. It is subject to inflation and deflation, otherwise called ashuddha antakarana, the outcome of raga dvesha. Even though you do not want depression, it comes because a dvesha has a hold over you. Raga dveshas account for every emotional difficulty. To overcome them, when the karma phala comes, I take it graciously as prasada. Though raga dveshas continue to exist, they do not have the capacity to create elation and depression. They simply become the basis for all your activities, which of course conform with dharma. Because of sarva karma phala tyaga, they get neutralized and there is an equanimity no matter what the result is. This evenness of mind, samatva, which characterizes a karma yogi, is possible only by prasada buddhi. Otherwise, it becomes an ideal which creates other problems. So the reason why the outcome of doing sarva karma phalatyaga is that you're not elated, overly elated if something good happens, something desirable happens, or you're not overly depressed if something not expected happens. So you get this samatva bhavana, the evenness of your mind. This indirectly starts neutralizing your raga dvesha. Although you start your action with aligning yourself to raga dvesha, when you give it up, the prasada buddhi is there, then there is that evenness. The hold of raga dvesha on you will be lessened, will be minimized. Otherwise, it becomes an ideal which creates other problems. I'm just wondering why that is. He's talking of an ideal as the sarva karma phalatyaga, right? So you need not offer the karma to Ishvara. You can simply take the result from him. It is not inferior to offering the karma to Ishvara because it amounts to the same thing. What is important is tyaga, renunciation. That is what is being praised here. Sarva karma phala tyaga amounts to renunciation of desires, kama tyaga. When they are all offered to Ishvara, raga dveshas have no hold on you. Raga dvesha is kama, and the kama itself is renounced because you are accepting the result regardless of how well it matches your raga and dvesha. When that is so, kama is as good as given up. It has no grip over you, which is all that is required for antakarana shuddhi. Then, through that antakarana, you will gain jnana. Therefore, give up the results of all actions. Tatah sarva karma phala tyagam kuru. Being a disciplined person, yathatmavan, his karma phala tyaga is as good as mad yoga, karma yoga, in which the action is performed for the sake of Ishvara and the result is taken as prasada. Here, if you think about Ishvara when the result comes, that is good enough. When you pull onto the road, think of Ishvara. When the car stops, think of Ishvara. When you reach your destination, think of Ishvara. When you arrive in one piece, think of Ishvara. If you sustain some injury, thank God you are still alive. Thus, every karma phala is taken as something that comes from Ishvara. Thereby, your raga dveshas get neutralized. We have to act this out. It is not simply a matter of understanding here. Though understanding is necessary, the attitude stays with you when you keep on acknowledging that karma phala is from Ishvara. So I'm actually reminded of the practice here in Bahrain, in all of the Middle East. Anything you tell them, they'll say inshallah. Anything. You ask them, will you come home? So they say inshallah. So they bring in the aspect of Allah into every of their interactions. So which I think is a wonderful way of remembering and remembering Ishvara and bringing him into your daily activity. If you repeat it to yourself, not simply mechanically, you develop the attitude of prasada buddhi. Like when you make it a habit to say thanks, you develop an attitude of gratitude. Even though it may sometimes be mechanical, it has to be repeated to cultivate the attitude, which is the important thing here. When you say thanks, it may not always carry much meaning. Somebody opens the door for you or moves aside so you can pass him on the escalator and you say thanks. Maybe purely mechanical, but if you give it up altogether, the attitude may disappear. Therefore, that form has to be retained. Only then can the spirit be discovered. And it can be discovered because it is always there in some degree. You cannot say thanks without some element of gratitude. Similarly here, yeah, please go on.
Yeah, so beautiful. It reminded me of our Uma, remember? Every time she used to say Krishna.
Krishna.
Our Uma Raju.
Right, I remember. Krishna, for everything she would say Krishna, 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 right?
Yes.
That is why if we develop the habit of saying a prayer soon after we get up, while before going to sleep, before eating our food, These are all these beautiful cultures and the tradition that is brought up to inculcate that attitude of gratitude, that inculcate the attitude of sacredness, of honoring Ishvara, remembering him, basically. So
Yeah.
if we can translate into every other action of ours, then we would have had him in that matkarma, uh, mat paramo bhava, keeping him matchitta madgata prana, that thing, bodayantas, that thing that he's constantly there in your mind.
Yes, and this feeling of gratitude, I think that is very, very important. With every breath, in fact, Guruji always says, no, incoming breath is energizing you, and every outgoing breath is
Relaxing you.
yeah, relaxing you. So we have to be grateful even for that, no? It is so beautifully arranged.
And that wonderful bhajan which says, I think Swami Sadhyo Jata had composed that. हर सांस मेरी पूजा तुम्हारी, हर पल मेरा प्रसाद तेरा, प्रसाद तेरा. That beautiful thing, if you just, in fact, just remembering that itself, like you very rightly said, every breath we are grateful for brings in that honor and that feeling of gratitude. Similarly here, this prasada or its equivalent has to be repeated. We must consciously acknowledge that everything that comes is from Ishvara. This, the awareness that he is the karma phaladata, has to be maintained by somehow expressing it so that karma phala tyaga becomes a reality. In the process, kama tyaga also occurs. But kartritva tyaga, renunciation of doership, does not, which is why it is not jnana. As long as there is doership, only karma yoga is possible. And through karma yoga, you can gain antakarana shuddhi, which makes you ready for the knowledge. Kartritva, however, can be eliminated in one stroke by Shastra. Once the raga dveshas are neutralized, the ahankara has no backbone. All you need is to be told, you are Parameshwara. If that jnana has no obstruction, pratibandha, there is no further problem. I will just read this one para and we'll stop. Just because he has said, if that is not possible, do this, karma phala tyaga is not in any way inferior. When you are allergic to aspirin, you take paracetamol, but that does not mean it is inferior. The effect is the same. If you cannot handle certain foods, you take others. Both nourish the body. If you cannot do one type of exercise, you do another. Both keep the body fit. It is the same thing here. One is not inferior or superior. Karma phala tyaga is as good as anything else. Pursue your raga dvesha, but renounce the results of your actions to Ishvara. Karma phala tyagam kuru. One good thing about this is that the Lord, being all pervasive, has no place to keep the results you offer. Thus, they remain with you. They are only mentally offered. This is sarva phala tyaga. Even though it is said lastly, it is not any way less than any of the other things suggested, because it will lead to the same thing. In fact, in the next shloka, it is declared as better than what has been told. This is a prashamsa, a praise of karma phala tyaga. Now, praising karma phalatyaga, Bhagavan indicates that though it is said lastly, it is in no way inferior to the things already mentioned, because with it you gain Shanti. So we'll do Shloka 12 tomorrow.
It is so beautifully Bhagwan is describing that it remains with you only. It is not, he doesn't require it. He's all
There's
pervading.
no place. He has no place to keep it.
Yeah.
So it is as though you're offering it to him. It is only for your own sake. That is why Gurudev says all the seva you're doing is for your own sake. It is not to please me. It is not for anybody else. If you're doing a volunteering job, if you're teaching, if you're even talking to another person to relieve his, sharing some knowledge with him, it is ultimately for our own sake, to clean our own antakarna.
Correct.
So this ultimately leads to kama tyaga. Your desire get lower and lower, and then your ahankara has no backbone. So then ultimately jnana happens. But this sarva karma phalatyaga is not the same as jnana, because the kartritva is still there. The doership is still there. That is why you're able to give the offer the karma phala. So that little distinction is getting clear, I think. No, sarva karma phalatyaga versus jnana karma sannyasa. Jnana karma sannyasa is where even the doership is renounced.
Yes, and the equations are so clearly mentioned.
Yeah.
Very beautifully. I mean, no, there is no blame game now here, that only why only me.
And for the jnana to happen, that only that in one stroke Shastra can give you is saying you are nothing but Parameshwara, Tattvamasi. With that kartritva also dissolves. Yeah. Jai Gurudev. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Maharaj, Jai Gurudev.
Yes. I got the answer for doing our starting prayers, ending prayers. All this again is like doing it it's not just doing it mechanically, but it brings in that element of gratitude. Like Swamiji said, by not saying thanks, even that attitude will disappear. So by doing it, at least you get yourself, because sometime earlier I had this doubt. I said, why are we chanting? Maybe we can go directly. Now I realize there is a meaning for everything. Even Gurudev, when he starts any commentary, he starts with a little prayer. And that is, it's nice. Everything has a meaning.
Yeah, all the masters I have seen, whether it is Swami Tejomayanandji or our Gurudev or whoever, they always begin with a prayer of gratitude.
Correct. No, very nice. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev, Brahmaraji.
Jai Gurudev. Thank you.
Jai Gurudev.